Do you like the way the infantry flies when your cavalry charges into them? Welcome back to Scrollin' Strategy, and today we are looking at cavalry mechanics and tactics. Now our cavalry attack is calculated to how we get the infantry into their own space program. And yes, I will focus on saying cavalry correctly, thank you comment section. Yes, we are going to go over the formulas. What the fuck? But not as in depth as we did in the ranged formulas video. That way we can get to some tactics and go from the on paper to the in game. We're going to hit on 4 major formulas: hit chance, defense, mass, and charge. First, we have to discuss total attack. It's just the engine's calculation for how hard a unit is swinging its sword, summing up the base melee attack, any charge bonus, and additional modifiers. Then we multiply it by the fatigue of a unit. For instance, if a unit is exhausted, it will get a 0.5 multiplier, reducing their total attack in half. Second, we have total defense. When it comes to total defense, well, we're discussing the opposite side of the attack for a model, which is, defending.
No shit, Sherlock!
Which wraps up the unit's melee defense or armor, defensive skill, and if they have a shield, it will add it to it. And then it multiplies it by the same fatigue modifier. These come together to give us hit chance, which gives us the percentage chance the attacking model has to hit. This is calculated by taking 0.15 and then getting the delta between the total attack and total defense, and adds a modifier of 10 if the unit is mounted. The 1.5 or 15% is hard-coded in case the delta is 0, that way you aren't sending walls at each other. And now, on to the engine of our space program.
I think it must be damp.
Charge is calculated by taking the charge bonus of our units and multiplying it by 1 minus t, or the length of time the unit has made contact with the enemy after the charge is completed. In our KV rules table, we can find charge timeout, which is 80, giving us a total of 80 seconds until our charge bonus is nullified. And now for the fun one, how we get our 1800 space program, which comes down to mass. Now this is where the game starts taking physics into account. If the mass ratio between the attacking and defending unit is greater than 1.5, you will cause someone to go into space. Anything less and the models slide next to each other. Now, acceleration of units is taken into account, but to save you guys time and boredom, we'll go over that in a different video later.
Because he's my best friend, he's my pal, he's my homeboy, my rotten soldier, he's my sweet cheese.
Now that we have a general understanding of the formulas, let's talk tactics. We are going to focus on 4 major types of cavalry units: light, regular, heavy, and lancers. We're not going to go over missile cavalry or dragoons here because we're talking about cavalry melee combat. Now, I know you're going to say, but they have a melee stat. Yeah, true, but I don't know why you'd use missile cav in a melee or even dragoons. They have different purposes, and even then, they have a lower melee defense, charge, and attack than light cavalry units. So, we'll discuss them later, and if you need to toss them into a melee, follow the light cavalry tactics. Anyway, rant over, let's get right into light cav. The units that we're going to have inside our light cavalry category are going to be things like Hussars, Barawadi, and Cossacks. If you would like a specific stat breakdown, feel free to see my cavalry overview video. The average stats we're going to see here for melee attack is 8, melee defense is 10, armor is 1, defensive skill 9, charge bonus 11, and a mass of 500. Now, these guys are best used for the following roles: artillery hunting, chasing routers, flanking, and harassment of enemy infantry. All of these can be done with proper positioning of your cavalry. I personally set them behind my infantry and off to one of the sides of the flanks, allowing them to quickly get out but also stay protected. This also will allow you to swing them out wide if the enemy is advancing to conduct harassment maneuvers or strike any unprotected artillery. When you do start to have enemy infantry rout, this is the perfect time to have your light cav hunt them down. On to regular cavalry. Our regular cavalry, or just cavalry, is going to be units like Regiment of Horse or Provincial Cavalry. The average stats we're going to see here: a melee attack of 11, melee defense of 15, armor of 1 also, a defensive skill of 14, and a charge bonus of 12 with a mass of 600. These guys are close to a mobile hammer. Flanking attacks are key. When your infantry is in a melee or even a ranged combat, if they do need the support, these guys are great to send into the flanks or rear to provide an additional morale shock and break the enemy. Even if they come back later, you've opened up your flank and can focus elsewhere, or just have your cavalry run them down to ensure they stay broken. Heavy cavalry is going to be units like household cavalry or horse guards. Your average stats are going to be for melee attack 11, melee defense 18, armor of 2, a defensive skill of 16, and a charge bonus of 16. with a mass of 710. Now, heavy cavalry does lean a little bit more towards a defensive unit in my opinion. Not saying that you have to use them that way. I know I haven't. I do use them offensively. But keeping them in an available spot while not allowing them to be targeted by ranged units, these guys will hit an enemy line infantry harder, or better yet, a great defensive force for your line against an enemy cavalry charge. They can withstand a prolonged melee, but I would advise still keeping an eye on them so you don't additionally rout your cavalry. They will tire faster in that prolonged melee, so you need to keep an eye on them. Lancer Cavalry. For Lancer Cavalry, well, we have Lancers. I don't know how else to put it. It's the Lancer Cavalry. The average stats we have here are a melee attack of 8, melee defense of 7, armor of 1, a defensive skill of 6, and a charge bonus of 25 with a mass of 500. If you didn't pick it up from the average stats we've talked about earlier, these guys are more towards surgical usage. Lancers are perfect for shattering lines. You do not want them inside of melee combat at all due to their incredibly low defensive stat of 7, which is worse than light on average. But they will shatter infantry or even cavalry when the charge is used. Just remember that these guys cannot and should not be in a melee. Now, on to formations. When your cavalry is not in a formation, they will be slower to react to directional changes and have some models potentially lag behind and are harder to pull out of combat. But if you're using a wide shallow formation, maybe 2 to 3 ranks deep, this will allow you to spread out the mass of the charge against a line. You're not going to penetrate it deep, wink wink.
That's it, boy. Get in there nice and deep like.
But you'll hit them hard. Now, it's not horrible if you're not using the formations, but they can provide some support for your cavalry usage. For instance, wedge formation is an offensive upgrade to our cavalry units. When they are in wedge formation, they're forming a triangular shape, with the axis pointing in the direction the regiment is heading. Wedge formation will really help to split up enemy troop formations, allowing your cavalry to penetrate through that formation. This is best going to be used to break lines, but I would recommend using cavalry with a higher charge bonus such as heavy or lancer units, and this will add the shock impact, plus with a larger mass you'll hopefully gain a strong knockback. Last, we have diamond formation. This is a defensive upgrade to our cavalry units. Unlike wedge formation, they form a complete diamond with both axes pointing in rear and front. Diamond formation will help with responsiveness of cavalry units when changing direction. However, the drawbacks to this formation is it does reduce the charge bonus. In addition, it can take time to get into formation.
No, fuck off. Can't be sidetracked with cheap sex potions.
Well, bam, and there we have it. The cavalry formulas and tactics. The main focus of your cavalry is going to be using the right type for the right purpose. They require some micromanagement, but mastering those moments will open up the initiative on the battlefield where you can turn a loss into a win. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive on cavalry units, and remember to log off once in a while, go outside and talk to family and friends. I will see you in the next video.